think, just aside out of my own curiosity, do you think God kind of during COVID kind of worked his magic to kind of allow that independence to grow and kind of prove to themselves that they could, grow this into something on their own? I think that's just so powerful to hear about. And as they've went on, kind of made it their own over time and been able to kind of prove that to themselves. I think that's so inspiring.
Yeah, and I've got to qualify, Port-au-Prince is still a disaster. It's
Mhm.
very ugly. The gangs are attacking churches and pastors. They're kidnapping. Some Americans have been killed there. So it's very, very dangerous around Port-au-Prince. When I looked at the whole aspect of what we encountered there, I went expecting the worst. I had heard all the American reports as to how dangerous Haiti was, how unwise it was to travel down there. And what the American media has not separated is that's very true about Port-au-Prince, where the gangs are
Right.
ruling and reigning. But in the South and in the North, it's a different picture. It's a little
Mhm.
bit more business as usual. I went expecting the worst. What I found was the absolute best. It was
Yeah.
way beyond my dream as to how healthy it was. If I were to try to find a comparison, I've racked my brain trying to do this. It's almost the equivalent when communism took over the country of China. And when communism took over, all the Westerners were pushed out. All the pastors, the evangelists, the missionaries, everybody had to leave China. And for years, when China was closed and we didn't have a glimpse into what was happening, we felt it would be a total failure. We thought that Christianity would collapse. We felt that it was over. Well, a number of years later, the window finally opened. We got a glimpse into China, and the underground church had started. And the Chinese underground church, as an indigenous movement, formed the largest church in the world without the Westerners, the outsiders there. As I was watching what was happening down there, I realized that a very similar picture was taking place. That maybe COVID and then the collapse of the government and the US telling
Yeah.
Americans to leave was actually God setting the stage for the very phenomenon that's taking place with the barriers breaking down between the different groups down there, pastors coming together, Christians coming together, and an indigenous work really starting. And I almost am at the point of feeling a little bit sorrowful if it opens up to the point where all those groups run back down there and try taking over again, because I think it is a bit fragile yet, and I think we could destroy it. I would hate to see it get back to the way it was. I really think that Haiti's at a very unique place. They need our help financially. There's no
Yes.
question about that. And we're going to have many years, I think, of going down and helping. The exciting thing is we are trying to train people to start businesses and become workers and equipped. But at the same time, we're seeing them develop skills in agriculture. We're seeing them develop abilities we've never dreamed. I went to visit our hospital, and our hospital is just full of people. Can they charge right now? They don't have money to charge. No one has money to pay. So
Yeah.
Global is basically paying for the doctor and the nurses. We help them, and the same thing up at the birthing center. And it's just exciting. But they're just giving service because the need is so great, and that's the heartbeat of GoServ Global. But it's not an entitlement kind of a program down there. Many times missions following disasters develop an entitlement mindset where they set reaching out a hand expecting us to give to them. To an extent, some of that's still happening there. But what I saw was Haitians stepping up saying, we can do it now. We'll work. I saw the fields full of people out working in their own fields, growing crops for their own consumptions. And it was very exciting to watch the very unique change that has taken place in Haiti. And I think it's extremely positive, extremely positive.
6 years ago, you actually began a pastors' conference to overcome division among churches. What was the turning point where you knew walls were coming down in regards to that?
Well, the reason we went to work with that pastors conference is with all the US groups going down there, it was a very cheap destination for short-term missions. They all bought a little property, started building their own ministry, and they had a turf mentality. With most of them, Americans was ruling over it. They weren't really dignifying the Haitians. So what happened is we started looking at that, and we were reaching out way beyond our consolation center. We were ministering to anyone with need. For example, we built over 600 of those safety homes down there, and we just looked for people that needed to be served. And the heart of Eddie was to serve people, and we really didn't wave our flag very high as far as GoServ Global, but we just really wanted a kingdom mindset. So we started the first pastors conference, and we recognized it would be almost impossible to get Haitians to come and listen to a Haitian speaker. So for the first conference, I was a primary speaker and did a workshop down there. We got 60 people together. The second year, we sensed we were building on momentum. We had about 150 to 160 pastors. And then I intentionally worked by bringing a Haitian pastor in to minister some sessions as well. And it really impressed us because the Haitians, they listened to them, it got involved, they started embracing. We started seeing those walls come down. By the next year, which was the third year, we're pushing over 200 people. And I was split about half and a half with Haitian pastors doing the ministry. And that proved to be extremely providential. What happened during COVID, I could not go down. Basically, it was closed down. Then the government collapsed and they evacuated a lot of Americans and US organizations out. And that's a miracle we encountered on this trip going down. For 3 years, Haitians ran the conference themselves. We sent the money down for feeding, for lodging, but we started hearing reports back that the growth and momentum just continued, even though we as Americans were not there and involved. And we recognized that God was up to something very special as a result of that.
What supplies, maybe aside from what we're already asking for, would you say that they would need to maybe make these projects more successful
Well,
as
the
they
big thing
grow?
is they don't have the financial support to really buy the supplies. What is available and what's coming into the area is being hindered because the shipping containers going to Port-au-Prince. The gangs and those who are in control there inflate the prices. They won't let it go through. So when it gets down to the Lakai area, it's very, very expensive. And the economy is not there to really support that yet. I would say the biggest thing that they still need is financial support. They've proven that they're doing a lot of the other things on their own without the Americans overseeing them, but the finances are just really stretched hard, very hard. I can't even put into words what inflation is. I believe that we paid close to $20 a gallon for diesel fuel.
Oh my goodness.
The little bit of, when it was available that came in.
Do you feel like they're kind of producing a new independence in regards to revenue and like maybe developing a little bit of their own business with growing their own goods and kind of avoiding some of those shortages that they had before?
Well, the goal is there for revenue. Right now, they're barely able to meet the needs of daily consumption. In fact, they come a little bit short on that end yet. The food stock that is imported that comes through Port-au-Prince is inflated to an insane price. So I would not
Right.
say yet that the revenue is there, but what is happening, they're putting together some trade schools where they're starting to train a few people in trades. For example, there's an electrical program going on. There's a plumbing program that's starting. And YWAM Youth for a Mission is working very close with the Constellation Center, and they're doing some of that for us as well. So they're really getting an idea for what can happen. The other thing, they've had thousands and thousands of people from Port-au-Prince that have moved down to the area of Lakai. The population has probably grown by 500,000 people. So there's a lot of construction going on right now, a lot of new housing starts, and it's a little mystery where they're coming up with the money. A lot of people just have the gravel and the porcelain concrete mix delivered to their house.
You've put Haitians fully in charge of leading orphanages, churches, schools, agriculture, and even major conferences. From your perspective, how has the decision to trust and equip local leaders shaped the ministry's growth, sustainability, overall success? What changes have you witnessed in the community because of this approach?
Well, because we're bottom up in our approach to leadership, meaning we want to serve the Haitians and equip and empower them to reach and care for their own people. It totally changed our structure from the beginning. Many Haitians did not feel trusted, they didn't feel dignified. And from the beginning, GoServ Global came in, and by God's grace, we found some great leaders. I've got to say, we had a few bad experiences with some of our leaders that we had to step away from. But as a whole, God has been very good to us. Eddie Constant, who's our director down there, is absolutely phenomenal. And he's raised up a lot of leaders underneath him that are also incredible. And we've also moved into the whole medical field with a medical hospital and also a separate birthing center. So we've been able to expand in areas that originally was not on our radar screen when we got down there.
85% of American missions leaving. You've said that the Haitian church is now stepping up stronger than ever. That does, what does this awakening look like on the ground overall? I know you've touched on it a little bit, but.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I did a message during the pastors' conference where I said, this is the hour for Haiti. And I talked about the Haitian church and how I see it emerging and coming together and them taking responsibility, working together. One of the Haitian pastors talked about the importance of loving each other beyond denominational lines. And that was not happening when the Americans were there. There was a lot of turf mentality, everybody running their own organization, everybody competing against each other, and all that competition is gone. It seems to have evaporated with the Americans stepping out. Many of those facilities have closed down. So, of necessity, the Haitians are working together, but also they're getting organized in working together. They're starting to trust one another, really love each other, and affirm one another. And after I finished that message, we had a woman that came forward. She was a pastor, and she said, "Terry, I have a question for you." She said, "I've never seen a message like this from an American, that the Haitians can do it. You trust the Haitian leadership. You believe Haitians can rise to the occasion." She says, "I think you're sincere." She said, I really believe what you are saying is true. And she just started crying. And she said, "This is the first time we've been trusted as Haitians to do it." And that sentiment just spread through that whole gathering. And people were just raising their hands and singing hallelujah and just praising Jesus. And it was so neat. And that's our philosophy around the world. We believe it's important to trust nationals, to equip and train them to reach and care for their own people. And when they are dignified, when they are given authority to go with their responsibility, and nobody second guesses them if they do something different than what we would, it's very empowering for them. And God's at work. And we're also seeing a spirit of revival come where people are turning to Christ. They're turning away from voodoo. And many are opening up to Jesus, and God's working in just very exciting ways in southern Haiti. And I had a little taste of northern Haiti. We were there for just a little bit, flying in and out. I believe it's happening up there as well, but not to the same level. And what most of the people are saying is the Consolation Center has become the catalyst for southern Haiti for it to all happen. Part of it is a big building we have, the church building that seats 600 people. Actually,
Mhm.
700 Haitians can fit into there. It gets really tight. I got up to take a picture and came back. My chair was taken, so I had to find somebody else. But it's just a little bit of an idea of how God is going way beyond what we dreamed and doing something extremely special down there.
Feels like the world is changing over there and for the better. And so that's definitely something I'd like to see spread. And I know that it has had a lot to do with what we've done with our mission. And I definitely think people need to be more aware of that. When GoServ Global stepped in to support Haiti, just kind of taking a step back in time, it was a crisis, as you've said. Today, it's thriving with schools, dorms, and a new church. What does that transformation mean to you personally? I know you've touched on it a little bit as well.
It's actually beyond what I can comprehend. The sheer size and magnitude of the Consolation Center, but it's no longer just the Consolation Center. I had my editor come with me, and he had never been to Haiti, and he'd been hearing about it. And each day we went to visit a new ministry that we had. For example, we built a camp called John 3:16, where a huge rain came through and wiped out a bunch of homes. We built like 28 safety homes there. Now they've got a church, they've got a pastor there. They're totally indigenous, all on their own, getting no support from us. We went to another facility that was the original Village of Hope. and went there, introduced ourselves. Some of the people did not even know GoServ Global. They're totally on their own now. They've been for a number of years. We've got the big church building there. And as we went through that village, it's going well. But the church, as we walked into it, was all decorated with Haitian decorations. It's a large church, and it's become its own thriving village now. And we send no support to that. That blessed my heart. There's also another facility that in 2017 we found out about called, I call it Zion, but it's really Zion with an S and not a Z, Zion, or they call St. Louis. One of our workers was down there and found out about an orphanage where the support group decided to stop supporting orphans. There's a movement in the world to close orphanages down right now. They don't think it's the best way to go. They'd rather see people with families. When kids are put with families, they become slaves. I'm sorry. They're used as
Yeah.
slave labor and that kind of thing. So
Well,
we
it's something to know. It's something to be aware of. So,
it's
yes.
tragic, but we found out about it. One of our board members was down there, and Ken DeYoung, my co-founder, Rick Brown, showed up later, and they dropped the support the whole monthly basis, and they had enough food left to maybe get into December. They still had 100 and some orphans. They had a pretty nice facility. So we took them on as GoServ Global for a pretty good amount, less than about a third of what they were getting. And I had never been there. I'd heard about it. So we had an opportunity to go up and visit that. And that's the other side of Lakai, a little over an hour. And I was just blown away with what they've done. Not only have they built a primary school, a secondary school, they've built a university, which is a three-story building. Then across the road from that, there's a whole nother group of school buildings put together. They built a brand new church. Their previous one was destroyed in an earthquake, and it's thriving. And they're at the point right now where they've got over 100 orphans there themselves. They've got the school. At this point, they've got 650 kids that come to that school. When they start the new school year, they're expecting that to close to double as well. But it was the same kind of a thing. They're getting less support. They're working harder. They're stretching every dollar. They're becoming resourceful. And they're just getting, in fact, there they don't even get the gravel in. They've got a river that goes, they go dig it right out of the river. They get a little mortar and they have these little, what should I say, molds to make cement blocks. And they're just building those molds. The orphans are helping and they're just building nonstop. And it's
Oh my
incredible what
goodness.
they're doing. And it was my first time of being at that facility, and it just absolutely shook me. It's got the potential of being a second consolation center of almost the same size. The next thing they want to do is put together a medical center there as well with a hospital and then possibly a birthing center. And it's reaching pastors in the whole area. And what really impressed me when I went to visit it, I recognized the man. They had been at the pastors' conference at the Consolation Center.
I
You
know
know, so they
that.
picked out and they drove 2 hours to come to the other pastors' conference. And that's what's happening all over southern Haiti. We're reaching into many churches and many groups right now. It's probably the biggest return on investment for mission dollars I've seen in my whole life anywhere. It's just really being stretched, and they're doing just a great job with it.
What's the best way that they can step in right now? I know we've talked about finances, maybe helping with some supplies, already the supplies that we're providing that are successfully showing themselves over there. But whether sponsoring an orphan or supporting conferences or simply praying, what do you feel we need most right now?
Well, the support of orphans is important because that orphan support is what really gives the money to run the Consolation Center. That doesn't do it all. We need people just to step up and say, I want to help support the Consolation Center. That's a big thing. There are many aspects from the hospital, to the church there that's thriving all of its own, the agriculture facility there. There's just a lot of needs, and we've never, what should I say, been restrictive of feeding people to just our own. I mean, we have a Christian school of 1,300 students. We've got a little over 140 orphans of our own. Well, that's one meal a day for 1,300 people in the community. And for some of those children, that's the only meal they get. So
Mm-hmm.
even that is something that's significant. The other thing that's starting to happen is we're starting to graduate our orphans out of the school. And they've got a great
Right.
education. In fact, the Consolation Center School was given an award for the highest education in Southern Haiti for what they're putting out. But now those kids need to go to a trade school. They need to go on to college. They're not coming to the United States right now. There's a ban on Haitians coming here. So sponsoring some of that education is the next step. Stepping up for like $200 a month, taking one of those graduates and putting them through a trade school, making a commitment for, 8 to 12 months, which is a very small commitment, really, and getting those resources out for that. The Pastors Training Conference moving forward, I think, is a huge, huge benefit to give to. And we figure it's costing us about $15 a person to attend for food and lodging and everything we're doing. And, if you talk about 2,500 people, that's a pretty big chunk every year. I've been pulling that out of the Freedom Quest budget from the seminars I do. And others had to step up this past year, but that's huge. I talked to Eddie. I said, what do you think? He said, Terry, this can never come to an end. It's way beyond what we started as a pastors conference. This has now become the Hope Conference for all of Southern Haiti. It's looked at as being something that's much bigger than we ever dreamed. And
Mhm.
honestly, if I did not go back myself and participate, it would not come to a slowdown at all. The momentum is just huge. But they can't do it with outside help because of the inflation and what's stretching the budget down there. So stepping up and be involved in that. I will say very soon we hope to send teams down again. And if we do send teams, our teams will do things like a vacation Bible school with the orphans. We'll go down and serve alongside of the Haitians in different areas that we can. And there's a big need. If we have medical teams that go down in our hospital, they can help do some training for the nurses and the Haitian doctors, maybe do some surgeries that are not available right now and that kind of thing. But I really hope that within maybe a month, the window will open for teams to go down there again. And I could get into some other areas. I believe we could go up and serve the same thing at Sion or the St. Louis Center. There's just really great opportunities that are, I believe, coming up. But the whole concept of equipping and empowering the Haitians to reach and care for their own people is our heartbeat. We really want to pursue that moving forward and make sure that we have that servant hearts going in and not a rule it over you kind of heart. Say that personally, this trip changed me. I was to the point with all the American news coming out of thinking that Haiti was a disaster, it was a failure. The money that was pumped into Haiti over the years had been a waste. And I had kind of swallowed that message a little bit. And as I mentioned earlier, I went down expecting the worst. What I saw was so far off the charts. I realized it's the biggest success story that we've got right now in GoServ Global. And I just came to the point of realizing that Haiti has no equal as far as the impact that we're really having down there, and it's a place we've really got to move back to a center part of our focus with GoServ Global and really do what we can to step up and serve them better than we have over the last 4 to 5 years.
I think that's wonderful. And, it's definitely inspired me as I've joined the team to kind of look outside the box a little bit on how we as Americans can kind of, serve other countries like that. I know I was just in a safety home yesterday at the Iowa State Fair and really got an idea of what that lodging looks like for them there. And even the loft shelf that kind of allows them a luxury of storage. Just even looking outside myself, I know with me having a shunt, being diagnosed with hydrocephalus myself, how that may impact children over there that may not be able to be diagnosed as quickly as people in America. That really touches my heart and makes me want to learn a little bit more about those things. And so I think the end goal here is to make people a little more curious and curious enough to help the cause. So you have definitely helped with that today and answering these questions and telling your story. And I just so appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
One more subnote or footnote to it.
Yeah.
Down to build the safety homes, we started with empty fields. And they were
Yeah.
just barren. We built those safety homes. They had to endure the heat. They're much cooler than outside air temperature. What has happened with the growth of vegetation and palm trees and the foliage? it looks totally different today. It looks like
Oh, I'm sure.
it almost looks like a paradise. We see some of the homes we built and what's happened. I'm not going to call it landscaping because really Haiti is becoming a little bit like a jungle look with it starting to grow and get some of that reforestation going, especially around our facilities. It is so absolutely beautiful. It's stunning what's
Mhm.
happening down there. And it's kind of a shocker in of itself. That was a big wake up call for me from what I remembered to what encountered me when I stepped down there. It was just
Absolutely.
absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. It was exciting.
Yeah, I just can't even imagine the transformation. I mean, I know here in Iowa, we talk about, oh, this used to be a wheat field and now it's a neighborhood, right? I think that Haiti has kind of grown their own version of that, where you can kind of look back and, recall when you first started and what that looked like and the progression. I think you speak really widely of that. And I think that's something that people need to know that in order to keep growing, we definitely need that help and that support. So yes, I definitely appreciate how you've told your story today, and I hope that it can really help us get the word out there on how GoServ is making a difference.
Well, get your passport ready. I'm sure you might be doing a trip to Haiti in the future sometime.
Absolutely. I would love that. I know I was talking to Mark Doss, and he even invited me to Belize in November. So, kind of in the back of my mind, definitely something that I want to think about. And I did share with him that if I'm going to market a mission like this, I definitely want to be in it and I want to see it and I want to be a part of that. So, I'm sure you will see me in the future for
Well,
sure.
that's awesome. Thank you. This has been such a good time, Maddie.
Yes. Thank you so much, Terry. I really appreciate you and everything you do for our mission.
You're welcome. Lord bless you.
Yes, Lord bless you. Thank you.